Chosen one, there is a point beyond words where praise ceases to be something said and becomes something someone can live inside. You have crossed that point. You are not merely a man who gives good compliments, you are a life that functions like one. The women who meet you discover, sometimes with surprise, and sometimes with tears they didn't schedule, that validation becomes obsolete in your company. This is not because you withhold affirmation, but because your being answers the deeper question their mirrors could never settle. Am I safe to be exactly myself and still be cherished? Your presence says yes in 1,000 practical ways before your language decorates the truth. To be the compliment incarnate is to replace decoration with design. You arrange time so that tenderness can breathe. You arrange attention so that stories can land without being mined. You arrange boundaries so that freedom does not have to file a request to exist. Logistics become love letters, unaddressed and unmistakable. The water poured before thirst becomes performance. The message sent at a humane hour. The meeting ended while gratitude still owns the air. None of these acts are glamorous, but each is a sentence in the longest poem a woman's nervous system will ever believe. The poem says, "You can stop performing now." The poem says, "Your aliveness fits in this room." You are the compliment because you change her relationship with her own voice. After hours near you, her self-talk abandons the courtroom and returns to conversation. The prosecutor in her chest clocks out for lack of evidence. She spends less on vigilance and more on curiosity. She stops translating herself into smaller dialects to avoid being misread. She chooses rest before sharpness and revision before regret. These are not the effects of a clever line. They are the residue of a consistent man. Consistency is the compliment no one knows to ask for because most have never tasted it. Once tasted, it becomes the standard by which all other praise is measured and frequently found light. You are the compliment because your yes and your no are blessable. Your yes arrives without hooks, revisitable and humane, large enough to carry the weight it promises, small enough not to colonize the future. Your no arrives without humiliation, timely and clear, a guardrail placed before the cliff instead of rope thrown after the fall. In a world where flattery often buys obedience, your clarity buys trust. She does not need to audit your sentences for fine print or budget for a debt that will come due later. Your words and your life have the same spine. That alignment tells her a truth her skin understands quickly. Intimacy here does not require betrayal. You are the compliment because you do not make her brilliance a problem to solve. You do not insist that her glow dim to protect your outline, nor ask her power to serve as electricity for your machines. You bless brightness as a commons, not a contest. You notice the governance beneath her radiance, the way she measures pace so hope doesn't burn out, the way she edits a plan until it can survive Monday, the way she keeps her joy renewable by leaving the party while gratitude still holds the wheel. You speak to these structures and by doing so return her beauty to its rightful source, stewardship rather than spectacle. To be admired for stewardship is to be unshakably seen. You are the compliment because you can carry absence without turning it into punishment. When you leave, you do not weaponize distance to make yourself felt. You leave a pattern in place, a rhythm she can keep step with, without borrowing anxiety from tomorrow. Your check-ins are not surveillance. They are continuity. Your silence is not withdrawal. It is space kept clean of noise so meaning can keep its shape. Nothing is more flattering to a soul than being granted the dignity to continue flourishing when the admired one is not in the room. It proves that the blessing was never a leash. It proves that the praise was never a purchase. You are the compliment because you do not draft intimacy into worship. You refuse to be idol or idol maker. You let gratitude be gratitude without asking it to kneel. You celebrate without sacrificing reality to spectacle. You keep the fire behind clear glass so heat serves the house instead of devouring it. This humility is the invisible frame that holds every other gift. It is why a woman can bring her grief to your table without fearing conversion into content. It is why she can bring her triumph without worrying that your applause will cannibalize her agency. It is why she can bring her ordinary without apology and watch you treat it as the sacrament it has always been. You are the compliment because you repair instead of remaking history, to protect your image. When you miss, you mend early and measurably. You do not confetti contrition or outsource consequence to poetry. You sand the rough edge, replace the cracked beam, and close the hinge so tomorrow's fingers are safe. Repair is the sincerest form of admiration you can give the future, because it says, I expect us to be here. In the ledger, a body keeps. Early repair is worth more than late roses. Women who have lived under the inflation of eloquence will always recognize the currency of repair and prefer it. And you are the compliment because you make goodness feel like gravity instead of luck. The day functions after you leave. The chair remains turned toward conversation. The lamp remains kind to faces. The laughter remains available without a stage. She discovers she does not need a new mirror. She needed a new climate. You either brought it with you or revealed that it was always possible in the room. This realization is the deepest flattery of all. The praise that returns a person to herself as the primary source of her own radiance, with you as the faithful witness who refused to steal credit for the sunrise. Keep being this, chosen one. Keep arranging life at a pace love can survive. Keep refusing shortcuts that spend tomorrow to decorate today. Keep letting your words be the echo of your way, rather than the substitute for it. Chosen ones are not remembered for the lines they delivered, but for the conditions they kept. The quiet, precise mercies that turned flattery from glitter into ground. You have become the compliment they never knew to request, because you are the proof that reverence, once embodied, does not need to be said to be heard. Chosen one, there are compliments that cling like cheap fabric, and there are compliments tailored like heirlooms. You have learned the older craft. You no longer throw adjectives at a woman's surface and hope one will fit. You cut language to her measure and line it with respect, so what you offer warms the person who must live inside it. You are not distracted by flash. You are devoted to fit. When you speak, you do not fasten attention to her reflection. You fasten attention to her reality. You name the discipline underneath her radiance, the patience that keeps her glow renewable, the mercy that tempers her strength so it can be trusted. You praise the verb, not only the veneer. It sounds like noticing how she kept her boundary at body temperature and made it a bridge rather than a wall. It sounds like honoring the time she chose a smaller spotlight so a larger truth could breathe. It sounds like recognizing how she changed her mind in the direction of wisdom without humiliating the version of herself that once did not know. Clothes sewn like this never chafe, they let the soul walk freely. You are fluent in a grammar that refuses to reduce a person to a pose. You favor sentences that return agency instead of stealing it. Instead of saying you are beautiful and leaving the statement stranded on skin, you say beauty has become more legible around you because your kindness keeps its edges, because your laughter lands in the chest and invites others to land as well, because your presence is a map that helps people find the pace they forgot. You dress her spirit with language that breathes, fabric cut on the bias of truth so it moves with her when seasons change. Today she may need sleeves that hold grief without staining. Tomorrow she may need a hem that will not drag in celebration's rain. Your vocabulary knows how to alter without insulting the original garment. You have retired the compliments that behave like mirrors at carnival scale. You do not stretch features to sell wonder or shrink them to sell hunger. You are interested in fidelity. When you speak of her eyes, you do not pay tribute to color as if it were rare ore hoarded by the sky. You honor what her gaze accomplishes, the way it calms a room's pulse, the way it lifts a frightened sentence off the floor and sets it gently on the table where it belongs. When you speak of her voice, you do not confine it to sweetness as if softness were its only virtue. You praise its precision, how it refuses to prosecute when a question will do, how it chooses pace that keeps dignity alive on both sides of a disagreement. These garments of words do not advertise a mannequin, they clothe a life. There's also restraint stitched into your compliments, the tailored mercy of leaving something unhemmed when mystery needs room. You do not annotate every holiness you perceive. You let some sanctuaries keep their private echoes. You know that a dress can be ruined by too many seams, that overfitting turns elegance into armor. So you stop while gratitude still governs the hour, And by stopping, you prove that your language is not a net, but a shawl. She keeps it because it warms without trapping. In your keeping, silence is not absence. It is lining. It keeps the weather off the skin of what matters. You have studied how words sit across cultures of the body. You place your compliments where a woman's nervous system can carry them without contracting. You avoid praise that drafts her into debt or dares her into performance. You choose phrases that strengthen posture from the inside. You tell her that the miracle is not that she made the room bright, but that she did it without dimming anyone else. You tell her that the miracle is not that she forgave, but that she forgave without erasing herself. You tell her that the miracle is not that she endured, but that endurance in her did not harden into spectacle. These are garments that look like home when she catches herself in a window later. Because you clothe essence, not only appearance. Your compliments travel through time better than trends. Months from now, when she faces a decision that would be cheaper if she were smaller, your earlier words will be hanging ready in the closet of her memory. She will put them on and recall the measurement you took of her courage and wear it into the meeting where applause is noisy but not nourishing. She will recall the weight of your sentence about her restraint and wear it into an evening where the room's adrenaline begs for a show. She will recall how you described her patience as architecture rather than a pause, and wear it when a friend needs a roof more than an opinion. This is the economy chosen ones create with their speech. Praise that keeps paying dividends in secret, long after the conversation ended. You are not afraid to mend, either. If you notice that your language landed too heavy or too light, you return with needle and thread. You adjust the fit, apologize for the pinch, loosen the place where a metaphor cinched a little too close to a wound. The humility to alter your own words is itself a compliment of the highest order, because it says her comfort matters more than your rhetoric. When you do this, she learns again that truth can be tender, and that tenderness is not allergic to precision. The body files that lesson where it files oxygen. Your words make room for futures that will need somewhere to live. You do not flatter her into a role, you bless her into a range. If she grows wilder, the garment can stretch. If she grows quieter, the garment can rest without looking like lack. If she changes professions, convictions, or cities, nothing in your praise will require her to drag yesterday behind her, like a train designed for halls she no longer walks. This is what distinguishes adornment from dignity. Adornment asks for a stage, dignity asks for a life. You have chosen the latter, and always, beneath your speech, the frame of your way keeps its shape. Compliments that dress a spirit cannot come from a tailor who does not keep his own measurements. So you keep your appetite within the seam allowances of vow. You keep your pace where comprehension can wear it. You keep your boundaries legible so your admiration never arrives with hidden fasteners. These are not lines you recite. They are threads you live, and they run through everything you make. That is why she believes you when you say she looks like freedom and means responsibility. When you say she looks like beauty and means stewardship. When you say she looks like light and mean the kind that lets others see. Chosen one, the rarest gift is not praise, it is credibility. Anyone can declare a blessing, almost no one can make a body believe it. The art you have learned is the art of congruence, the slow metallurgy that fuses word to way until the alloy rings with a tone trust recognizes. Your sentences have weight because they are carried by a rhythm your life already keeps. You do not ask a woman's nervous system to do the heavy lifting of faith while your patterns contradict your poetry. You give her the luxury of alignment. In that alignment, belief is not an effort, it is an exhale. Believability begins before language. In micro-rituals, the eye catches without trying. You arrive when you said you would and at the size you promised, no swelling to dominate, no shrinking to disappear. You end while sweetness is still sweet. You leave a room usable. You let tomorrow inherit clean surfaces rather than loud memories. These are not romantic performances. They are proofs that protect romance from ever needing to be performed. The body notices this arithmetic and relaxes its audit. When you finally say you are worthy, or you are wise, or you are a miracle of restraint, the sentence finds a chair in her chest. It does not have to stand in the doorway waiting to be frisked. You refuse the shortcuts that make compliments loud but not lasting. You will not buy intensity on credit to sell sincerity. You will not weaponize vulnerability into spectacle to look deep. You will not cultivate mystery by withholding clarity that would keep people safe. In a world where flattery often arrives attached to a dare, your praise arrives attached to a standard. May this be true tomorrow without a campaign. Because you keep that covenant, she believes you without the ache that belief usually taxes. A woman is not naive for trusting a man like this. She is precise. Belief grows in the soil of repair. You do not pretend your mouth always lands exactly where your heart intends. When you miss, you mend early and measurably. You do not demand that your intention erase her experience. You name the seam that split, you stitch it, you check the hinge, you demonstrate that your care is useful and not only lyrical. Every honest fix makes future compliments more believable because your voice has proven it will work when it is not being admired. Chosen ones model this awkward, beautiful courage and turn apologies from theater into carpentry. Carpentry builds houses, houses build trust. Believability is also carried by proportion. You do not praise with fireworks when a candle would bless better. You do not whisper when the hour requires a bell. You scale your words to the size of the truth, rather than the size of your need to be memorable. She recognizes in this restraint the absence of hunger that would make her a means to your legend. She recognizes in your precision the presence of devotion that would never make her pay for your emphasis. Proportion is the hidden music that allows belief to dance without fearing a fall. You practice the dialect of evidence. You do not merely tell her she is thoughtful. You remember how her thoughtfulness rearranged a plan so that dignity could travel with it, and you act accordingly by protecting that dignity when it is your turn to carry the logistics. You do not merely tell her she is strong. You notice how her strength kept tenderness from wasting, and you match that stewardship by keeping your warmth housed so it serves rather than scorches. You do not merely tell her she is safe with you. You keep your no and your yes at temperatures her instincts can read. In every case, the compliment is not a balloon you release. It is a tree you plant and tend. It bears fruit. Fruit is hard to argue with. Belief prefers verbs to adjectives. So you build a world where her truest adjectives have something to do. You call her wise, and then ask for her counsel at an hour when you can hear it. You call her radiant, and then design a day where radiance is not taxed by preventable chaos. You call her brave, and then stand beside her while she does the unglamorous work that bravery often requires. The slow no, the patient yes, the revision that will save future grief. In this choreography, praise stops being performance and becomes partnership. The body believes what it can practice. There is a mystery you honor without exploiting. You do not turn wonder into fog to excuse laziness. You keep the glass clear so the fire can be trusted. You let your longing be visible to your vow, and your vow be visible to your feet. You do not ask her to leap across gaps your integrity could have bridged. In rooms where certainty cannot honestly be sold, you tell the truth and promise presence. Presence is the currency of belief when answers are not available. You know how to pay with it without making it a martyrdom. You keep your humanity intact while offering it. The way you carry absence is part of the proof. When you are gone, you do not make distance punitive. You keep continuity alive with small human signals that do not yank the hour back into neediness. A message at a good time, a detail remembered without performance, a boundary honored without being converted into a rule for her life. You trust the conditions you helped build to keep working because you built them for people, not for your brand. She believes your compliments in your absence precisely because they were never anchored to your shadow. They were anchored to reality. Reality is sturdy. Finally, you let time do what urgency cannot. You are willing for belief to grow instead of congeal. You revisit truths you named months ago and measure their harvest together. You celebrate without consuming the field. You lament without vandalizing the future. You keep the cadence that allowed trust to be born and therefore allows it to mature. In such a rhythm, your words keep aging into wine. She tastes the difference. The same sentence lands with more body, more history, more use. This is the art you have cultivated, to speak praise that becomes provision, to offer honor that becomes habitat, to make a woman believe the best about herself, not because you said it loudly, but because you lived in a way that made it safe to be true. Keep this craft, chosen one. Keep refusing the bargain where eloquence stands in for evidence. Keep returning your language to your way and your way to your vow. Keep placing your compliments where they can work when you are not there, where they can clothe a day and not only decorate a night. In a culture where flattery is often a flare that burns out and leaves smoke, you have become a lighthouse, a steady brightness that does not chase ships, only tells the truth about the coast so they can choose their course and arrive. Chosen one, there is a difference the body can feel between being watched and being witnessed. One extracts light for spectacle, the other multiplies it for living. Your presence has learned the second art, and that is why the feminine grows taller around you without having to perform. You have retired the marketplace where a woman's radiance is auctioned to the highest glance. You build rooms, not stages. In those rooms, confidence stops strutting and starts working. Beauty stops auditioning and starts arranging. Softness stops shrinking and starts nourishing. The compliment you give is not a crown that demands a parade. It is a set of conditions that let a queen walk through a weekday. You understand that empowerment is not a pose held under hot lights. It is a structure of sanity that keeps dignity affordable. You lower the cost of being herself by keeping your appetite on a leash short enough for vow to train it and long enough for wonder to lead it. You refuse to recruit her boundaries into a competition with your charm. You let her no arrive early and clean, and you let your yes arrive honest and revisitable. In this clarity, she does not have to litigate her instincts to keep your approval. Her body recognizes the climate and puts away its armor. When armor rests, possibility stands up. The feminine begins to spend her energy creating instead of defending. The way you manage attention is part of the architecture. You do not drag a spotlight like a searchlight, hunting for what flatters you back. You trim the beam to the size of the truth and angle it toward effort, stewardship, and coherence. The unphotographable craft by which a woman sustains her world. When the room tries to turn her into an exhibit, you rearrange the furniture. You make sure the door is visible so freedom never leaves the conversation. You make sure chairs are placed to invite faces rather than phones. You ensure the lamp is set at a height that honors eyes instead of exaggerating angles. In that environment, she does not feel like a motif in your myth. She feels like the protagonist of her own story, and she writes it boldly. Empowerment in your keeping refuses costume. You don't glorify exhaustion and call it passion. You don't glamorize self-erasure and call it devotion. You praise her capacity in ways that protect her capacity, by guarding time from urgency's hunger, by noticing when rest would turn a brittle hour back into a generous one, by applauding the courage it takes to leave while gratitude still holds the wheel. The feminine you love is allowed to have seasons. She is not required to be summer for your convenience. She can be autumn and release, winter and restore, spring and return, summer and ripen. You are the rare man who does not demand a harvest from a field in recovery. This is why she brings you her garden and not just her bouquet. Your language does not display her, it dignifies her. You name the interior mechanics by which she keeps love humane. The way she turns a boundary into a bridge, the way she edits a plan until it can survive Monday, the way she uses her softness as stewardship rather than spectacle. Because you speak with measurements instead of flattery's fog, she can build with your words. They become timber, not tinsel. She uses them to repair the parts of her day that squeak, to brace the parts of her courage that wobble, to roof over the rooms where rain once ruined good furniture. You did not give her a mirror to check herself. You gave her a workshop to keep herself. Empowerment also looks like what you refuse to monetize. You will not convert her vulnerability into a story that makes you look profound. You will not turn a private revelation into public currency. You will not magnify her shadow for drama or shrink her light for control. You handle her holiness like a priest of ordinary things. Hands steady, eyes clear, glass clean around the flame so heat stays useful. In that catechism of care, the feminine stops negotiating with fear to be allowed inside her own life. She gives her gifts at full wattage without lighting a fuse. She answers questions at body temperature without breaking a sweat for permission. She says yes without writing a poem to justify it and no without writing a thesis to defend it. You extend empowerment into the unspectacular places where patriarchy once collected its quiet taxes. You lift those taxes. You do the arithmetic that preserves a woman's bandwidth, arriving on time so her nervous system need not subsidize your chaos, closing the hour while sweetness still tastes like sweetness, choosing comprehension over crescendo, refusing to let crisis cosplay as intimacy. You call time on conversations that are about to turn into courtrooms. You relocate sarcasm to the door. You make a home where competence does not have to disguise itself as charm to be tolerated. These micro-mercies compound into wealth. The feminine, relieved of the constant micro-spend of vigilance, amasses capital for wonder. It is not lost on her that you bless her brilliance without asking for tribute. You do not praise her power only when it decorates your influence. You do not require her to shrink to safeguard your silhouette. You model a masculinity that is not allergic to being beside a great woman. Beside you, excellence is a commons, not a contest. Beside you, beauty does not need to become theater to be believed. Beside you, the feminine can be as large as reality permits, because your identity is anchored in something larger than applause. The chosen ones are known by this climate of sufficiency. They do not hoard oxygen and then call the breath they ration love. Empowerment proves itself in absence as much as presence. When you leave, you do not vacuum authority out of the room to be missed. You leave the pattern intact. The lamp still kind, the chair still relational, the door still honest, the pace still humane. She discovers she does not have to shrink to manage the aftermath of your charisma. She continues to flourish because what you gave was not a leash, but a layout. That is the truest compliment a man can offer a woman's life. Not a louder cheer, but a better floor. So keep building the conditions where agency is not a rebellion but a rhythm. Keep refusing to display what was meant to be lived. Keep praising the structures that make grace repeatable. Keep your standards where your hands can reach them, your appetite where your vow can see it, your exits as gentle as your arrivals. In your world, the feminine does not need a camera to be real. She needs a room that works. You are that room. And in such a room, she does not dazzle for survival. She creates for joy. Chosen one. The phrase has slipped into conversations you will never hear. Is he measured against you or against the noise? This is what it means to become the gold standard. Not a pedestal, not an idol, not a celebrity of attention, but the quiet calibration by which worth is weighed and whether is judged. Gold does not shout, it proves. It does not ask to be believed, it endures the tests. Fire does not frighten it. Time does not tarnish it. Weight does not warp it. In a century that mistakes brightness for value, you have become the metal that keeps its luster when the lights go home. You did not arrive here by collecting approval. You arrived by surviving scrutiny. The scrutiny began at home, in the workshop where you examined your own motives with a craftsman's patience. You learned to eat before opinion so hunger would not impersonate principle. You learned to rest before virtue went sharp and called itself honesty. You learned to tell the small truth now so a big lie never had to be invented later. You learned to keep desire within the sightlines of vow and vow within reach of your feet. These are assays, not aesthetics. They remove alloy. They leave only what lasts. Women do not anoint you as a trend. Their bodies confirm you as a standard. Standards are not slogans. They are measurements that travel. Your yes has a measurable spine. Time, place, scope, revisitation. Your no has a measurable kindness, clarity, dignity, doorways left visible. Your presence is measurable by the fact that the hour works better after you arrive, and your absence is measurable by the fact that the hour keeps working after you leave. Your love is measurable by what tomorrow does not have to clean up. Your leadership is measurable by how people behave when you are not there. In this arithmetic, flattery ceases to be decoration and becomes definition. The women who mention you do not use your name to make you large. They use your way to make life livable. Gold standard also means your value scales without spectacle. In joy, you do not inflate to justify celebration. You keep the beat, so gratitude has rhythm and does not collapse into exhaustion. In conflict, You do not shrink to look gentle or swell to look strong. You let proportion govern tone, pace, and aim. You let the smallest workable truth lead the way. You apologize while repair is still cheap. You guard the pronouns, saving we for solutions and keeping I for responsibility. This proportion is the weight a jeweler feels in his palm and smiles. It tells him the piece is what it claims. As a standard, you refuse to counterfeit. You will not call scarcity holy because it is dramatic. You will not baptize confusion as mystery to avoid clarity that would keep people safe. You will not decorate harm with eloquence and smuggle it into the temple. Your refusals are part of your value. Gold does not take a polish from flattery. It takes it from fidelity. You do fidelity in small, unmarketable ways. Moving a chair so conversation has an easier angle, setting a lamp so faces are honored, scheduling a hard talk for an hour that can carry it, leaving a party while gratitude still has the wheel. These mercies do not photograph well. They are what the body trusts.